ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for coming who's come today. I really appreciate it, especially it's been kind of short notice. But I think that speaks to just how important this is and how much little time we have in some ways. So I'm Michael McPherson. I know there's a lot of Veterans for Peace members here today. I'm a previous executive director of Veterans for Peace, and I recently also started a little not-for-profit to continue my work called Reclaim the Dream, Peace and Justice Projects. And one of the projects is to help with deported veteran issues. So I'm continuing to work with Veterans for Peace to do that. One of the reasons that I wanted to see if we could have this meeting with these Veterans for Peace members is because, as you know, we have a new administration, and in the first 100 days, a lot of things happened, and the Biden administration has been talking about trying to create some immigration reform. But unfortunately, in his executive orders that he's done, which a few of them have been targeted at immigration, deported veterans have not been a part of that. And there hasn't been that much discussion about deported veterans. But Senator Tammy Duckworth did send President Biden a letter calling on him, urging him to do an executive order and also executive actions to bring deported veterans home. So that means that there is a little simmering and some talking about it if Tammy Duckworth is out there doing that. Also, we have a new bill. Actually, it was first put in last Congress, but it's been reintroduced, and it's called the New Way Forward Act, which actually provides a way. It's a broad immigration reform effort, and it does provide a way for a good number of deported veterans to return home. Also for childhood arrivals to stay and a number of things that's good in terms of immigration. But unfortunately, it doesn't catch all of our deported veterans. So what we want to do is push for this executive order, as well as support the New Way Forward Act and call for legislation that will ensure that all veterans return home and deportation of veterans stops. So it's like a three-pronged thing that we're trying to make happen. Now, we felt like VFP, because we're a national organization and we have chapters all over the country and actually in different parts of the world as well, could be a very important part of making this happen. And the biggest part of the strategy, and if I'm wrong when I say this, because some other speakers are going to start in a few minutes, is to really become like the squeaky wheel, to make sure people know about this issue, to make a lot of noise so that deported veterans cannot be forgotten. And as veterans, you all know they'll forget about us in a minute if they can, right? So if they're forgetting about veterans that live here and in their face all the time, they're certainly going to forget about deported vets. So we as veterans cannot let that happen. So that's why we're having this call today, and we'll have another series so we can make sure we reach out to all of our Veterans for Peace members and see if we can make this campaign happen within Veterans for Peace. So I'm going to stop there, and then I'll come back later on to reiterate some of the points that people are going to make in the over the next hour, and talk about 4 things that I think VFP can do. So I'm going to turn this over to Cesar Lopez to talk a little bit about the executive order.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
My name is Cesar Lopez. I'm a deported veteran Marine. I was deported back in 2013 for marijuana. A conviction that I was told when I pleaded guilty to it that I was going to be taken off my record. It wasn't. In the time that I got deported, and now I got a pardon from the governor of New Mexico, and I'm still unable to get my stuff back. So that goes to tell you a little bit about the complex situation that deported veterans fall under, and pretty much everybody. For me, Manuel Valenzuela and myself, for the last 2 years, we dedicated our time to try to have the presidential candidates and the president at the time, President Trump, to sign an executive order to bring us home. We actually had a campaign to get to President Trump and the Representative Gonzalez from Texas was able to get a meeting with him, and he told him about deported veterans. And from our understanding of that meeting was that Trump was initially interested in helping us out, but when they said that we had committed crimes, that's what the talks stalled. So Manuel Valenzuela and myself, we pursued the Democratic candidates for president to bring us home. We pretty much got all of them, including Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And both of them agreed to bring us home with a deported veteran. There's a video floating around the internet that we posted where it says that they are committing to bring us home with an executive order. And that's why we've been pushing for that order. We got Elizabeth Ritchie, attorney from immigration attorney in Florida, right? And she drafted that order for us. We told her what we needed that order to include and what we needed that order to solve. And she came out with that order. We reviewed it, and we believe that that executive order, as drafted, would bring all deported veterans back home after we finish boot camp. So that's pretty much the nutshell on that executive order. And you know, we have done different campaigns. We've gone to Washington twice in the last 6 months, and I'm doing a 100-letter writing campaign. Other organizations are doing other efforts, but we're all pushing for that executive order because I think we can all see that that's our fastest way back home. And after that, we can get behind an a legislative bill like the New Way Forward to make these changes permanent, and we never have to hear the words deported veteran again. That's all I got, Mike.
Thank you, Cesar.
Oh, I
Appreciate
muted
that.
myself. I'm sorry. Thank you, Cesar. I just wanted to say, save the questions to the, I was just talking. I'll save the questions to the end. And so if you got them, write them down. So next, we're going to go to Robert Vivar. Uh-oh.
Thank you, Michael. I welcome you all. I've got a very special guest that all of you are special because you are here. And I just want to give a real warm welcome to somebody that's been helping me quite a lot here lately. And that's Attorney Joe Lee from Munger, Tolis, and Olson. They have been embarked on a case here for a couple, 3 years that we're expecting a decision on very soon. When that decision comes in, we're very confident that that decision is going to pave the way for many people that have been deported an opportunity to return back to the U.S., to reopen their criminal cases, have them vacated, and the possibility of reopening their immigration case and getting their legal status back. So, Joe, thank you very much, and I'm glad you're here with us. I appreciate it.
Well, it's my honor. I would have dressed up a little bit if I'd known I was going to get a shout out. But
Thank you, Joe.
I'm delighted to be here, and I want to just commend all of you for this terrific work you're doing.
Thank you, Joe. Great. Well, again, welcome. Every one of you special because you're here supporting our cause. I can speak forever, as many of you know me, but I'm gonna make it very, very short. The reason we're here, very specifically, is because President Biden made a campaign promise to bring deported veterans home, to within the first 100 days present an immigration bill. And at this point, what we are seeing is that all the rhetoric and everything that has been put out there in this supposed immigration bill does not include bringing deported veterans home. It does not include family reunification, as the wording has stated. It does not include bringing back deported parents of U.S. citizen children. And what this project, who my colleagues Liz and Jenny will will brief you on here very shortly, is going to give us an opportunity to take that message, and we hope nationwide, so that it reaches President Biden's ears, that we are demanding that he fulfill his promise and bring deported veterans home and bring family reunification and give the opportunity of parents of US citizen children to be reunited with their children, to make sure that our dreamers that have been deported, that have been returned on their own, that otherwise would have qualified for the DREAM Act, are also included in this, in his bill. For that, we are supporting two different actions. One of them is an executive order to bring deported veterans home immediately, but also the No Way Forward Act. And after the presentation, we'll ask Evme to talk a little bit there about it before we close up. Briefly, that's my message, that we need to be loud. If we are not loud, if we don't make sure that the US Congress and the Senate pressure President Biden to fulfill his promise, we're going to be left out. And that's why it's very important. And every one of you is a very integral part to make sure that we are not left out and that this grave injustices are corrected. Our US citizen children should not be subjected to growing up without their deported parents. This is a complete travesty to have our US citizen children grow up in this manner, in an unhealthy manner. And again, I want to thank you all very much. And we'll go ahead and hand it over to Liz and Jenny.
Thank you, Robert. And we'll be co-presenting. So let me share my screen really quick and we'll show you what we're talking about for this project. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I feel like you should be able to see the presentation. And if someone could work on admitting people, that would be perfect. Okay, great.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you. So as Robert mentioned, we are going to speak about the Leave No One Behind Mural project, as you can see here. And what's really important about this project is that it brings the stories to the center of the conversation that we always talk about, and also the stories that get forgotten on regards to immigration. So I feel like constantly we always center on the stories of the dreamers and the undocumented youth in the US, but we leave out constantly those who are also considered dreamers and childhood arrivals, but that don't meet the definitions that our government is currently insisting on in regards to who should be considered for relief of deportation and to also have a pathway for legalization. So considering all of this and just wanting to find a way to create awareness and to also keep our representatives on board and for them to know what we want as constituents and also people who have lived most of their life in the US, we want them to know the story. So that's why we created the Leave No One Behind Mural project. And this is just from our website. So we have a very do-it-yourself archive where we've actually hosted the images and some of the videos at this moment of the participants for the mural project. And as you can see here, the stories don't just focus on dreamers. It doesn't only focus on undocumented youth, but it brings into the center of the conversation the stories of deported veterans and also family reunification, including this effort as an umbrella and holistic view of who childhood arrivals are, but also focusing on family reunification. So as you can see in this image here, you don't only see uniforms, but you see families. You also see mothers. You also see young adults who grew up all their life in the US, and this is the only country that they know. Their main language is English. And as though they might speak Spanish, the reason that we emphasize English is because those are some of the criteria that we use to identify who is a US citizen or who can be considered from the US. So this is one of the aspects for this project. And Jenny will also talk about a little bit more about the deported veterans aspect of why we're centering the stories first there. But we wanted you to see the faces of the people that we are choosing to highlight in order to create awareness and just really push our government to do something about this, because I think it's been over 20 years now since we haven't had reform or some type of relief for an entire community. And I think it's more than time that we actually do so. So let me go on to the next. Okay, I think it's frozen. Okay, so just to bring in a little bit of where we're working with. So we have this map here that represents an inclusive representation of nationality. So we're not just focused on the US and Mexico, because yes, that is one of the main numbers of people who do get deported from the US. But in actuality, it includes so many other nationalities. So we want to be inclusive with our approach as well. So to make this even more inclusive and considering positionality, we've actually hired and commissioned 2 mural pieces from Javier Salazar Rojas, who is also known as Deported Artist on Instagram. So he's creating these pieces of art in Tijuana, and with technology and also considering COVID and the pandemic, we're still in this. We want to make sure that we're able to make our message come to life. So what we're doing is that we are getting this image that he's creating, and we're going to reprint it, and hopefully we're working on dimensions of 90 times 60 inches. So it could be a very life-size mural where people can interact with. So that's one of the main things that we want to focus on here, is that the mural is also coming from someone who is part of the community we're centering and highlighting. And as you can see on this slide here, one of the murals is on childhood arrivals and US military veterans, dreamers, and family reunification. And the second mural is on US military veterans. So the reason why we have 2 murals instead of just one is that we really want to push for in Washington, D.C. to have its own mural on just US military veterans, because bringing in and starting our conversation with the veterans is going to get our foot in the door. And I think that's really important, to bring them into the front and then speak on the other stories that are also valuable to us. So to create the stories a little bit more and bring them into the community, we will be also including QR codes as part of the art piece. And if you're not familiar with QR codes, they're basically some little squares, and I have some in the next slides. So something like this, that you could just scan with your phone. And once you do, you'll be prompted to go and watch a YouTube video or an Instagram video that has a story of the participant. So that way people also have the possibility to share the stories and to be a part of our movement. So it's not just the coalition making the efforts, but it's also the public. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this project, is that we're also giving the tools for normal people to engage with. So I'll let Jennifer speak a little bit more about our project, and just so she could highlight a little bit more about the deported veterans.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate that. And so as my colega Liz just said, she did a wonderful job and a really thorough presentation there. What we're focusing on again is, really bringing in veterans and their stories from all places, right? Taking them out of the box of just veteran status, which is always really important, but at the same time, it has never been enough to actually get policy enacted. So we're really making sure that we also think of them as folks that have been going through family separation, folks that came here to this country as children, right? So they're childhood arrivals. And many of them, as you know, are also dreamers. So we have definitely a group through the Mandi program, if y'all are familiar, are all of those. And so we're really excited about this mural project, because as Liz mentioned, it really allows us to, unbox veterans and really see them in, in their full ways. And so what's really cool, this map really makes me happy because it allows us to make sure that we put these installations in key locations, right? So it really helps us, break that political wall built from the nature of our political system with Congress, right? That we need to reach out to the specific locations of the Congress people that are there. So this wall and this mural allows us to organize in that way. It gives images that are palatable to the public, right? So that they could also be urged to do more. And as Liz mentioned, we have over 33 stories represented and growing. We have 11 countries. And those folks that have been deported to over 11 countries also represent 11 different states. So if you go back to the map, please, Liz. For example, many of these folks are veterans that were deported from these different states. We have some of them in the public here. And we have veterans that have been deported. We're gonna highlight some of their stories, but we're also gonna highlight stories of veterans that are currently in the process. So this mural really does two functions. One of them is rooted in that political action, right, piece, making sure that we're supporting Cesar Nunez, making sure we're supporting Manny Venezuela, who are going to deliver executive orders to help the repatriation of veterans in DC when we do our final installation here in DC, which also corresponds with one of the veteran, our only women veteran that we know of that is also represented in this story. So all of this is very symbolic, very meaningful. And again, the strategy is having this rooted in political action, but at the same time, allowing these murals to create healing, right? When we post these murals in select locations, we want to invite the family, we want to invite the press, right? Anyone that's willing to show up to really honor the sacrifices of veterans and also the immigrant community, right? Because we're all in the same. Many of us have families with mixed status. And so that is where we're really trying to build our coalition and live from. And so, you know, for those of you, I see some people from the Central Valley here, so hi. You know, this is the thing about lucha, right? The civil rights movement, the farm labor movement, the Chicano movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. They tell us, they teach us, right? These are teachable moments that we need to come together. And we really do believe that this mural can really help launch and create that foundation. So thank you.
Okay, and in regards to actions to support, I'll leave this to Robert, maybe after we're done with this part of the presentation, because I think it's really important to, yes, use art to communicate the stories and also to bring awareness, but what else can we do? And in this part, I feel it's more important to see what can we do from the ground to make sure that something like HR 5383, like the New Way Forward Act, actually passes and that our representatives are actually taken into consideration. So it's a lot of little small steps that actually make the huge picture, and hopefully that will make an immense of change. So one of the biggest things that we are also communicating here is that on next Monday, February 15, at 1 p.m. California time, we will be unveiling the mural. So we will be unveiling both murals. So I think it's really nice that the public, we're all going to be able to share space again. And if you can join us on Monday at 1 p.m., you'll be able to see the mural for the first time. And we've already seen the first one. So we're very excited for it. And we want people to already see it. And we're more, I guess, you know, with that urgency to get it on the ground. So if you want to bring the mural to your city, please do contact us and we'll let you know how that would be best approachable. We're also trying to, at the moment, get funds to get the mural into the specific places that we want to target at the moment. So we're trying to target 10 cities right now, but our goal is to get the mural in all 50 states and hopefully in multiple cities within each state. So the cost that we're looking at right now for each mural is around $300. So when you think about it, that's not a lot. And I think it's very doable. So if you want to get the mural in your city, definitely do reach out to us and we'll make sure that we provide all that information to you. And I think maybe we don't really explain it that well, but the idea here with having the mural commissioned from Tijuana and reprinting it here is that we are able to work with it as a do-it-yourself and super accessible method that you get it printed and we'll provide the tools to get it on a wall. And for example, anyone can do this. So it's just pasting, I would say, posters onto a wall. And it's super easy. We'll provide, hopefully by then, a video on how to do it and instructions for people on the ground. but it's super easy. And I think it allows us to work during COVID because unfortunately with the pandemic, we can't commission artists in every state because then we're gathering and then we don't want to put people at risk. So ethically working through this method is going to allow us to make people be artists as well and be a part of this mission to, help us get the stories on the ground. So I'll leave it at that, and then I'll just leave this next screen for Robert Vivar.
And there's a question on the chat on what is the difference between a dreamer and a childhood arrival?
Yeah, do you want to answer the questions now or Q&A?
No, we're gonna wait because we want to go ahead and make sure we get this information out. So go ahead, Robert, for whatever next for you. You're muted, Robert.
Action support. Very important that we also support the executive order that Caesar and Manny are going to be delivering to DC. I believe Caesar already in the mail, but it'll personally be delivered to DC. And we're looking to have a delegation from EFP Veterans for Peace journey. And something that's very important about that is that the Deported Veterans Advocacy Project from Veterans for Peace, which originated here about a little over 6 years ago, precisely had a vision, and that vision was to promote an amendment of 8 U.S. Code 110, which talks about what constitutes loyalty and allegiance of a person to be considered a national, if not a citizen. Well, our view is that when a person took the oath of enlistment, they proved beyond a doubt their loyalty and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States, and therefore should be afforded nationality or citizenship. So at this point, what we are doing is also asking Congressman Garcia, with his introduction of the new way forward, to amending this 8 U.S.C. code so that it clearly states that those that at one point took the oath of enlistment and swore to the Constitution of the United States receive retroactive nationality, if not citizenship, retroactive to their completion of basic training. The other action that we're at to be included in this piece of legislation is to make sure that there is clear statements regarding family reunification, which is something that President Biden did mention quite frequently on his campaign trail, and stop any future family separations. Again, we want to make a very big emphasis on U.S. citizen children that whose human rights are actually being violated by not allowing them to grow up with their deported parents. It is very important that we raise that voice to President Biden to make sure a true family reunification is put forth in his immigration plan. And that is something that I believe we all can agree to. And these are actions that we believe that this mural project will have quite an effect in gaining support to pressure Congress so they can in turn make sure President Biden fulfills his promises to us. We strongly believe that by the placement of these murals in different cities around the country, it'll generate enough constituent support to congressional districts to make sure that they understand that we are not to be forgotten. We are a force that they need to consider. Over 2.5 million people have been deported, 11 million that live in the shadows. That, you can couple, along with that, our U.S. citizen families family members. And, you know, do the math. If every one of us has only 1 or 2 US citizen family members, you know, the numbers don't lie. We're a real reckon with. And so that is what we're supporting. Those are the action steps. And with that, I want to give an opportunity to a couple of our friends for some words. Nick Paz and also Ivy from Ciudad Juarez. And after that, we'll have our friend Maggie from Oda, Mexico City, to share a few words on our dreamers. So Nick, if you would like to honor us with your thoughts.
Thank you, Brother Vivar. Brothers and sisters, I'm honored to share this space with you. My heart is in community organizing, and with that, I would like to share a scripture, King James, Matthew 10:14. And whoever shall not receive you, not hear your words, when you depart out of that house or city, shake the dust off your feet. In doing this work, not everybody is going to be kind to the message, and that's okay. Just take it on the chin and just go to the next house. When what we're trying to build is a coalition, and at first, and I credit Professor Mead with this idea. I took it and ran with it, and I'm just I'm a work in progress, and I'm trying to do my best with it, sir. The veteran issue at first with other nonprofits, they don't want to touch it, but when you peel back the layers and you start showing that it's race, mass deportation, incarceration, the drug war, family separation, these other nonprofits begin to identify themselves in the struggle. And this transcends politics, right? And what we're trying to do is allow these other nonprofits to help us do the heavy lifting, because we only have so much resources, and we're trying to be more, now I wouldn't say mainstream, but be heard. Because when I talk to VFWs, they're outraged, but it's getting to these VFWs. You know what I mean? Let me see. And another part is all politics is local. If you can, if you don't mind, wherever you're at, cross-reference these struggles with nonprofits in your region, wherever you're at, whether it's in Colorado, New Mexico, Texas. Find nonprofits that identify with these struggles and reach out to them, see if they're willing to listen. I know it's a short time frame, but even future reference, pick up a shovel and start digging. And then start reaching out to your counselor, your city councilor, your county clerk, and your state representative. More often than not, politics, legislation happens at a local level before it happens on a national level. And last, I want to leave with, let's lead with love, but we have a righteous indignation. We have every right to be angry, but let's lead with love at the end of the day. So thank you very much for sharing this space. To my brother, Ivan.
Hey everybody, most of you know me, Ivan Ocon from Deported Veteran Support House Juarez, or on Facebook, Ezekiel Ivy Tijeras. Thank you all for your work. You know what I'm saying? We're doing our own little thing on this side, just raising awareness and everything. And I'm currently working on a new banner for all deported veterans, no matter what organization you are. So if you want to send me your pics, por favor, any deported veteran could be on there. Please, por favor. Right now we got about 35 people on there, but I know there's a lot more. And I got about 5 new veterans here in Juarez, so I'll be adding them. And with that, I just want to thank you all. And hopefully I'll be going to Tijuana in May probably. And I got to redo, add some more names on the mural over there for the brothers that are not just in Juarez, but like in Jamaica and everywhere else that don't have access to that wall. So if you know anybody, please send me names as well. And I'll see you guys in Tijuana.
All right, Ivy, thank you very much. We're here when you come by. Let us know. You're always, welcome. Our office is right at the border. It's your house also. And Maggie, would you like to share a few words for us?
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name's Maggie Loredo. I'm part of Otros Dreams en Acción, ODA. We're a grassroots organization here in Mexico City, led by and for the deported and forcibly returned community to Mexico. Thank you to Liz and Robert and Jenny and everybody for inviting us to be part of this effort. Definitely, we believe that through art and organizing together, we can do a lot. As y'all mentioned right now, with all this happening in the US context, I think that this is a time to join efforts, to be together, no matter from what organization. I think that it's really important to push for the deported and returned and veterans and family reunification to be in the table, to be part of the conversation. And I'm really excited that, there's 65 people here that can take the message to their hometowns, because I think our community, whether you're a veteran, whether you're not a veteran, but you're a deportee, a returnee, a mom, a dad, a sibling, we still want to go back home. We still want mobility. We want to end the bars. We want to be part of that conversation. And I think we've been excluded for so long. And it's not only Obama, or it's not just Trump. It's also, I saw Roberto here, another Roberto mentioned it in the chat. It's definitely pushing for Obama and Bush and Clinton. And it's something that it's a deportation machine, and we're that effect, and we're the ones that have been part of this. And I'm really excited to start organizing, to start pushing this conversation in all the different hometowns. We all have families, we have communities, our church leaders, our teachers. I think if we can push and mobilize for the people in our communities. I grew up in Dalton, but I see Lenny here in Bradenton, Florida. I see Robert, Tania también. We're so many, and I think that through art, it's a way to push forward and to really, really, really push this conversation for all families to be reunited, for everybody to have this access to mobility and to have the possibility to go back to our hometowns and our communities. So I'm just excited, and I'm just waiting everything we're gonna do to keep pushing and keep really pushing our voices out there. And with the support of all of you on the US side, I think that we can get even more support and just be part of this, because we can't let time go by and be left out again. So I'm really excited for this project and to keep walking with all of you and getting to know so many other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Ev Mead, would you like to share a few words before we turn it back over to Michael and then some Q&A?
Sure, that's great. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's great to see so many people out, and thank you all for sharing. And the energy is marvelous. And I'll let you can read about the New Way Forward on your own, and I'm happy. I'll share the links to some of the organizing efforts. But let me just signal what I think is most exceptional about it, and just three things that I think are the most relevant. I think the most exceptional thing here, and the most important thing that really distinguishes it from the other immigration reform efforts, either what Biden's proposed or other bills that have been up, is it's retroactive. This is a bill that really seeks to undo the harm done and the harm that continues to be done to families. And that makes it really different. This is not about future immigrants or projecting who should be given preference or not. It's really about recognizing that there was a wrong done, many wrongs done, and that the harm continues, and that we need to work on that. And that there's just nothing else like it that's doing that. And let me just signal three things that the bill does specifically. First, it restores judicial discretion, and that was stripped away 25 years ago by the 1996 immigration, the IRA. This is a big deal. If you look at the deported veterans, most of these folks, when they got in front of the judge, the judge would have had the authority to say, well, I'm allowed to consider your connections to the country. Serving in the military is one of the most obvious ones. And instead, what do we have? We have, you know, generations of veterans really now, especially over the last 25 years, who've gotten for the judge, and the judge says, thank you for your service. I can't believe I have to do this, but I'm ordering you deported. Whether they mean it or not, it's in everybody's story. There's that. The second thing it does is it changes the definition of an aggravated felony under immigration law. It changes the standard from an offense that has a 1-year sentence to one with a 5-year sentence. That little move in and of itself, while it's not perfect and it doesn't totally separate criminal law and immigration law, that move in and of itself would eliminate the deportation of a huge chunk of our community. I mean, it really makes it, and it gets rid of the double speak too, because instead of taking things that are infractions or misdemeanors and calling them an aggravated felony for immigration purposes, it basically means it actually has to be a felony. And so it adds a level of transparency. That's a big deal, would affect a lot of people. It also, and I think the last thing I would signal is what it does with the time. It sets a 5-year statute of limitations and it applies it retroactively. So it means you can't have a new president coming in, for example, and can go to ICE officers and have them digging up old DUIs, for example, or criminal offenses. If somebody gets at a traffic stop and it turns out that they have an offense from 10 or 15 years ago and they get ordered removed. You can't do that anymore with this bill. And it puts the burden on the government to find people who were deported under the previous regime, right? Under the old immigration law, like before this bill, to find them and bring them back. It actually changes the burden. And for our deported veterans, our deported childhood arrivals, a big chunk of the community that's really hurting now, that's a complete change in who has to be responsible for this. It's something really empowering, and it gives the government an obligation to people and their families, rather than just creating a benefit that they might or might not be able to scrum for if they can get enough people behind them. So it's a real change, and I'd invite you all to look it up. I'm going to paste it right here in the chat, the link to the advocacy packet from the Immigrant Justice Network. It had 44 co-sponsors in the last Congress, was just reintroduced, and it's got 230 organizations that have signed on. There's still a long way to go, and we need all y'all to get your organizations and get them in there, sign up. But this is a formidable effort, and I hope you'll join us and support you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ev. And Michael, we'll go ahead and turn it back over to you.
Okay.
And the QA after that.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone that presented. And again, thank you to everyone that's here. And we want to get to the Q&A real quick, but I just want to reiterate a few things. First thing, I want to thank Nick specifically saying that we must lead with love. That's really important, especially in this time of hate, because there's a lot of hate. We have 4 years of hate rising, and it's still rising. And the only thing that drives out hate, as we know, is love. Okay, so that means that we need to lead with that, because that's the only way we're going to get people to see people for people. So that's very important. I really appreciate that. The next thing I want to speak briefly about is Veterans for Peace's statement of purpose. And number 4 on it says to seek justice for veterans and victims of war. I want to say that because I know there's a number of people sometimes that wonder why VFP is doing this or that. Well, I don't know how you can seek justice for veterans if you're not seeking justice for them being deported. So this is very important, and I think it strikes at the heart of what Veterans for Peace is about. So that's very important. I'm thinking, oh, this is very important too. I want to give a shout out to Willie Hager, Jan Ruman, George Johnson, and Maurice Martin, because if it wasn't for them many years ago, really getting Veterans for Peace involved in the deported veteran issue, we might not be here today talking about this as an organization. And those 4 men work with the deported veterans down in Tijuana basically every day, and they've been providing a lot of support to them. So I really want to thank them and appreciate that. Veterans for Peace, I think, can be a very important part of moving this campaign forward, because we are across the country. We have a lot of chapters. And I want you to think about this as kind of a three-pronged attack in a way. So don't forget, we have the legislation. That the reason that I believe Veterans for Peace should support that legislation is because it will bring, if it's passed, a lot of the deported veterans home. It doesn't speak directly to the deported veterans, but deported veterans are part of the larger immigrant population. And anytime a good bill is passed that helps the immigrant population, it will help veterans. And this, at least at this point, looks like it's a good bill. So VFP should support that. So I'll be asking the board to support the legislation. So that's one prong. The second prong is to try to get that legislation amended to include deported veterans. And so that all of them can come home and no more deportation of deported veterans, or to get some other legislation. So that's the second prong. And the third prong is the executive order. Now these prongs are not like 1, 2, 3, right? They're all together at the same time. So remember that. Now, how can we help as Veterans for Peace? So one thing is, when you get an action alert or something from VFP about deported veterans, please act on it. Actually do something, call people, whatever you can do. So that's the first thing you can do as an individual person. When you get action alerts, calling your congressperson, talking to your friends and family about the issue, because a lot of people don't know about it. The second thing you could do as an individual is make a video, which some of you have seen, like I made, about the issue, about deported veterans and how you feel about it. And soon I'll send out a script to you so that, you know, make it a little bit easier for you to make. And if you have some issues or some problems with making the video, get in touch with me. I can help you. Maybe I can even do a Zoom recording with you, you know, and then send it to you. We can figure it out. But we want to get as many veterans to make this video and post it on Facebook, post it on Twitter, post it on Instagram, you know, do the hashtags and everything. So we'll get some more of that information to you, of the hashtags and all that, so that you can do that. So that's the second thing. Now, those two things are fairly easy, and you can do that as an individual person. The third thing, which is a little harder, is to do a webinar via your chapter as an individual. By that, I'm saying you don't have to do the webinar. Just like this, we have people who can come on the webinar to talk about the issue, right? But what we need you to do is promote it, and promote it outside of the Veterans for Peace community. Promote it to your friends, promote it to people that you usually don't promote things to, and promote it to other veterans so that people that are not in our usual circles can come in and see this. And another thing you could do is reach out to some of these civic organizations that every month they have somebody come in and talk to them, like the Optimist Club and the Lions Club and things like that. So there's a lot of different civic organizations in our communities and activist organizations like Nick was talking about that we can come talk to, but you got to reach out to them for us, and then you have to promote it. So that's a little bit harder. And then the fourth thing, which is at the top in terms of being hard, but not that hard, is to bring the mural. Bring the mural to your city, to your town. As a VFP chapter, you can make it a project and raise some money so we don't put all the burden on the organizers of this to pay for it. Raise some money, around $300, to bring the mural. Now, not only will this help deported veterans and the issue, it will actually help the chapter. It will help the chapter because it will increase visibility on a new issue. It'll provide you something that you can go talk to some people you've never talked to before about things, about immigration. You can actually go talk to them about it. Maybe you can work with organizations you haven't worked with before, so they know more about Veterans for Peace. And it also should bring a certain kind of visibility that might bring younger people to your chapter and other veterans, right? So it will not only help the deported veteran issue, but it will help your chapter as well. So those are the four things that you can do, 2 of them individual, 2 of them chapter, or maybe even the third one you can do as an individual too. So I just wanted to make sure you know that. If you have any questions about this, I know all the VFPers, you should have my email, but it's McPherson, my last name, at veteransforpeace.org. I'm still using that. McPherson is McPhearson, not ER, EARSON. So you can get in touch with me that way. So I'm just checking to see if there's anything else I wanted to. Okay. I think, oh, the other thing I wanted to say real quickly, and maybe this Cesar can tell me if this changes or not, but he's looking at May 4th to go. He'll be in DC before then, but to actually go to the White House about this executive order around May 4th. That's close to the end of the 100 days. Okay, it's not exactly, but it's a good day. So we need to, as Veterans for Peace, make sure that we can go with him as a delegation, right? To give him support, him and Manny while they're there. And also get in touch with, and I think Michael Marceau is on the call now, who is in Washington, D.C., get that chapter involved. So we need to be looking forward to May 4th. Okay, so at this point, if we have any questions, we can try to answer them. I'm sure I probably won't be able to answer too many of them, so we'll leave it to the experts on the call. So any questions? And I can't see everybody, so someone can help me with the questions.
Thank you, Michael. And Michael, we had suggested in Manny of perhaps moving that date of May 4th up a little bit. And the reason for that is that
we can talk about that amongst ourselves, right? Robert,
to erect mural in DC. We may be too late. We need to make sure that this reaches President Biden and that enough commotion is made before that final decision on that immigration bill.
Okay, right. So we'll talk about that. But as of right now,
that's subject. That's subject to
change. So I see Caesar's hand up. Let's go ahead.
So I did speak to Manuel about going earlier, and he's got some family events, but we will be in Washington May 4th. That's one day that we're not gonna miss. Now, the other one that Robert was talking about a month earlier, we can do that with some help. And I was thinking, if we really trying to make a lot of noise, why don't we start in this mural project? Can we integrate doing another turn-in at the border? I mean, we have enough active deported veterans in Tijuana, Juarez, and then in the other frontera over there in Laredo, that we can get at least 24 to 30 men at the border when we're in Washington at the same time on May 4th. And if we're doing press conferences at all those places, that would be pretty impactful in my opinion.
Yeah. So listen, guys, we can talk about some of this organizing stuff at a different time. Robert, let's not do that here. So I see Dan Shea's hand.
That's what I would suggest.
Yeah. Dan?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this is a great project here in Portland. You know, I've been involved with the sanctuary movement and deported veterans, et cetera. But I've also been a part of mural projects here in Portland. So there are a lot of muralists here that I can relay this to and see how much support we can get to bring a mural here. The sad thing about in COVID is that the Portland Art Museum has been closed. But there has been projects in which we have brought projects to the Portland Art Museum, which would be a great opportunity if we can do that. Hopefully it'll be available that we could do even an outdoor piece installation. So please keep me abreast, and I'll keep in touch with all of you and see what I can do to help organize that with our local VFP chapter here in Portland, Oregon.
Thank you, Dan. Lizbeth, is there a specific, I guess, Jennifer, you were getting ready to say something. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna tell Shay, I didn't catch her first name,
Yeah,
that
Shay,
I'm
yeah.
also in Portland. So we were thinking of bringing a mural over to the Salem area because we do have veterans from that region that have been deported there. So let's connect.
And let's do, please.
Well, what I was going to ask Jennifer or Liz, can you let people know exactly what email or how it is you want people to contact you?
Yes, so on the chat box, I added our information for our website. So there you could also find our social media, but I'll leave the information down here below as well. And we do have an information packet available. So if you need more information and details about what we're trying to do with the murals and just our process, that's all available on this link here. So definitely do reach out to us. We try to be connected on social media specifically. So if you want to message us through Facebook, we get those messages right away. But I'll leave our emails in the chat box as well. And as everyone is mentioning, you know, if you're interested in getting the mural to your city and you want to sponsor it yourself, that's always welcomed. And I think it would help us get on the ground quicker than fundraising, because fundraising does take a while. But either or it works, you know. But if you need help with the funding, let us know. We want to make sure that folks who are interested in supporting the cause, that they have the tools to do so. So definitely don't feel, you know, shy to reach out to us. We'll work it out. That's what we're doing right now. You know, we're creating awareness, and then next week we'll actually be able to show you what the mural looks like. So hopefully that also gets people more pumped and inspired. So once you see the finished product, I think that would be perfect.
Awesome. Great. Are there any other questions? I don't see any other hands. We're almost at an hour, which will be an amazing thing. Oh, hold on, Cesar. Let me see if it would be amazing if we actually
How do we
finish.
choose the location of the mural? Or do we just find the spots ourselves, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. So what I did for, at least for Fresno, I'm in Fresno, California right now, and we have murals all over. So all I did, I made a post on social media and asked who has a wall available. And if someone's interested, then perfect. But if you like a wall specifically, like here in Fresno, there's this place called Tower District. And then there's a wall that is owned by a Mexican restaurant. So I'm like, okay, this would be a nice place to have it. It's visible. People could walk up to it. So it's more about going into businesses and asking, hey, like, can I put this mural here? And, you know, it's just a matter of them saying yes. Because a lot of, I feel like a lot of businesses, that would be good for them as well to show their support. So it's a win-win for both.
And just a quick detail, I think it might have been mentioned, but just to reiterate, you need at least the actual poster will be about 90 by 60 inches. So try to look for a wall in that size. This is going to be a wheat paste poster, and you'll be able to glue it on, so it'll be pretty, you know, easy. Again, we wanted to be making sure that we acknowledge COVID restrictions and that it's safe.
Like Lucha Libre posters, remember those?
Kathleen, I think I see your hand up.
Yeah, I kind of got some of my questions answered with those last comments, but is it something that would be removable then on a wall? And then the other idea that I was wondering about, any ideas about towing something, or is it too big for that? A trailer?
That's a good question. So the idea for the mural is that we want to make sure that it's something permanent. So not like a sticker, but it's going to be glued on with Nova glue. So this glue, we've actually used it for the mural, which is in Playa Tijuana, and it's right by the ocean. So it's something that is going to be friendly for the environment and long lasting. So, I mean, we have to be careful where we want to place it. So I would say a wall would be better, because I don't think, I mean, unless you want to put it on a car or something movable, but I mean, that would be amazing, I think. But a wall would be more realistic, yeah.
What about a wrap on a car?
I mean, it just depends, you know, like what you're able to use. But I would say a wall, just so it could follow the idea of murals and like the Chicano movement and just the history behind why we use posters to create art. But I mean, I'm open to ideas, but we would say, you know, a wall would be ideal. And I think, Michael, you have a question?
Yeah. Mike, go ahead. Kenzie.
I live on a permanent corner in the city of Watsonville, which is a predominantly Hispanic population. And I have a retaining wall in front of my house that's about 8 feet by 8 feet. It sits on a corner and lots of people pass by it. And I would love to have that mural, if it's possible, on my wall, if that's possible.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned the dimensions, right? So obviously maybe the wall that we're picturing right now might not be something that's, accessible to you. So if you have another wall, definitely do reach out to us, and then maybe that lowers the cost because it's going to be a smaller print. Or if you want to make it extremely big, that's an option. But the idea that we're promoting right now with the 90 by 60 is because that's the ideal size we would love. But obviously it's just about, if you know a landmark that people always visit, then that would be ideal versus a bigger wall that maybe no one knows about. So I think that's a great idea, Michael. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I see Nick's hand. Oops, Jennifer, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say really quickly, the idea also when you post these murals is if you can, if it's possible in your schedule, reach out to the press, let them know what this is for. Any type of press attention is highly invited and accepted in these moments, right? Because we're trying to make that political pressure. So we will also give all of you that are posting walls on the ground a kit with the full information packet on what our messages are. We also want to give you all the tools and make sure you're all set on that.
Nick?
If you guys are at all able to recon these areas where possible locations of the art's going to be, just think of the significance. Like in El Paso, hopefully, we're going to try and find a place where it's suitable to put the actual art up on the actual border wall. If you guys ever been to Playas, on the Tijuana side, it's colorful, full of art, and you see the dreams trying to push through the art. But on the American side, it's always rust, So I liken that to like a dream catcher, but like the reverse of it. The prayers are art, always getting caught at the border. I liken this mural to the prayers are finally getting pushed through. So and another thing to add on to that is check in with the city that you're in, because sometimes codes will not be privy to that type of art. So if you're able to clear permits, we have enough time to clear permits right now, especially because you're going to DC, Brother Caesar. Then that's like I'm guessing it's highly
DC permits, we need to get on that. You're right.
So, and just you putting it up, they're probably gonna arrest you, not even for protesting, but just for putting you know what I mean? So just keep that in mind, be cognizant of that. But other than that, thank you.
That's great. Let me see, are there any other hands? I saw someone said that, oh, Mike Marceau. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey everyone, I'm with VFP here in DC. I recognize some of the familiar faces here, and greetings, sorry. Greetings to all the new folks. My name is my email. If anyone is from the DC area, we should stay connected. I thought I heard a couple of people say they were from the DC area, so I'm with VFP here in DC. And if folks are coming for the May thing, I'm not sure what it is, but keep me in the loop if you need places to put this mural. I can think of maybe a couple of things, and maybe some churches might be a place to contact about that, because they're, especially the Universalist churches, they're pretty big on social issues. So anyway, let's stay in touch. And the folks coming to DC, hit me up. I'll help you get around or point out some suggestions. And I'm sorry our museums are closed, and but it's a great city, and we'll see if we can help you out. So good to be here. Thanks.
Mike, I will connect you with Cesar for sure. And anybody else, you can write me and I'll make sure you get contact with Mike. Any other hands? I saw someone said that we should do more than one in the city, and that all depends on the funds. So if we can raise enough money, and I honestly, I expect chapters to raise money to pay for it. That's what I'm gonna ask the Seattle chapter to do. So, all right, so I don't see any other hands. Are there any other presenters that want to say something before we close? And I really appreciate, we still have 55 people. I really appreciate you all for hanging in there. Is there anybody else that would like to say something before we close, one of the presenters?
Yeah, I could add something. So on the chat, I just left our information, like our social media, just for communication purposes. I think social media is a more accessible way for folks interested in the project to know updates. So if you could follow it's a like page for the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter if you have those. And then that way you could also help us share our mission and our goals. And then also the fundraiser that's currently hosted on Facebook. So those are just our links there, and our emails and contact information is also at the chat.
Awesome. I see that, okay, Mike Dempsey asked about how much is it, and someone answered already about $300. So I just want everybody to know that so that you remember that. Okay, so I guess that's it. Again, thank you for coming on tonight, and we'll have some more briefings as we move this forward. And I really think there's a good possibility that we can actually make this happen, but it's going to take a lot of work, but I think we can do it. So thank you again, and talk to you soon. Peace to everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Wash your hands.
Thanks for letting me be here. Enjoyed it. And we're gonna do a lot of work to make this happen. Peace.
Right.
Take care.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Robert, for organizing.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Robert, you